No, we're selling it for $1 million, not 800,000. I bought a flip phone in 2022. This is not a new idea. I'm sure switching to a flip phone is something many of us have thought about in years past to try and spend less time on our smartphones. But most of us ultimately end up deciding against purchasing the flip phone for one reason or another, but I wanted to try it out and give it my earnest attempt at seeing if I can use a flip phone in 2022.
Studying about the average 2 hours and 5 minutes a day.
More than 500 Victorian University students and found a number of psychological issues associated with problematic use of smartphones.
How many hours would you say a day you're on a device?
Pretty much all day.
The average smartphone user spends 1 to 3 hours a day.
Probably about 8 hours a day.
Disconnecting helps you connect and create more.
Companies like Apple and Google sell you phones in hopes that you use them a lot. There have been minor attempts to help you reduce your screen time from these companies, but these companies want to make money, and the best way they can make money is to have you use the products that they sell you as much as possible. So here is the flip phone. It is an Alcatel Go Flip. It's got two screens, much like some of the more modern phones today. My iPhone only has one screen. It's got a screen up front and a screen right here. So two screens. It's also got the worst camera that has ever taken a picture, and the video quality is remarkably worse. It is generally a phone that's not really appealing for people to use. It does come pre-installed with a few apps, but the only two apps that I'll be using are the phone app and the messaging app. It does have a removable battery, and it does have an SD card slot. Not that you would ever need an SD card slot, because the pictures that are taken on this are something like 250 kilobytes. The biggest pros that I think I'm gonna have with this phone and using this over the next week or so is that I'm going to be using my phone a lot less. I also think that I'm going to prefer talking on the phone as opposed to texting, because again, it just has the 9 buttons to text on. It should help to get rid of that itch of always checking my phone, checking my pocket. If I'm bored, let me just grab my phone to do something. And I'm hoping that it makes me a lot more present, whether it's with me being with my wife, me working, or me hanging out with friends and family, and being able to stay within the moment and not focus on constantly playing on my phone. Having just started this challenge while editing this video, I would say the thing that I'm most concerned about is the camera. I am a huge photo and video guy. Obviously, I make videos on YouTube, but also of my family. I really love taking pictures and videos just of me and my wife and my whole family, because there are moments that you just can't capture that you might remember, but sometimes you don't remember them correctly, or even you don't remember them at all. And to be able to go back and see a video or a picture and be able to remember that memory is really awesome. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure this big camera is always available, always charged up, and always has free space in the SD card slot, because hopefully those moments don't pass me by and I don't miss them because I'm using a camera from, I don't even know, a bad webcam from 03. So as much as that phone might not be perfect for me, it's probably better than what Apple and Google are supplying me. Last year alone, Google made over $19 billion just off of Android. And Android is a free operating system that anybody can access. Off of Android alone, the Play Store makes $9.1 billion. Search on Android alone makes $7.5 billion. And Maps makes $2.2 billion. All of these massive numbers come from people using their phone constantly, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a day, constantly having a screen on your face, constantly having the itch to touch your phone. There are, of course, a couple quotes that I really love when it comes to free time. One of them by JFK is, "We must use time as a tool, not as a couch." Meaning that once we've realized that time can be used as a tool to reach our goals, we can finally start to reach our goals much more effectively. And the other one is by William Penn, "Time is what we want most, but what we use worst." Referring to how most people completely waste all of their leisure/free time with mindless activities. I'm not saying that you should only work your entire life, but here is a visual representation of the amount of hours that you have in a day. I personally feel like seeing it is a lot easier for me to explain it because I don't really know how to do this with software. So for hours 1 through 8, you're going to be sleeping. So you have 8 hours taken up just from sleeping alone. And then your 9th hour is going to be your eating. getting ready for work, taking a shower, going to the bathroom throughout the day, all that stuff is going to take about an hour. Now, if you're like most people and you have to work, you're going to lose another 8 hours just from working alone. And this doesn't include your commute or your lunch. So we'll add in an extra 18th hour for commuting and lunching. And that leaves you with a grand total of 6 hours left over for the rest of the day to be productive. The average amount of time, according to Statistica, is around 4 to 5.5 hours, which means at the end of using all that time, you have 1.5 hours to do something else. These 4.5 hours are consumed by you playing on your phone. Of the 6 you have free, you only leave yourself an hour and a half. If you were to work out, go for a run, the rest of your time is completely taken up. And you will say, man, I had a really busy day. I didn't have any time to do anything. And yet there's 4 hours right here that you could have used to do something productive, but you chose to spend it on your phone. The interesting thing about all of this is that if you spent 4 hours a day for just under 7 years, that would be 10,000 hours, which would make you an expert in basically any field of your choosing. That means every year you spend 4 times 365, which equals 1,460 hours every single year on your phone, just completely wasted. Phones are not the end of humanity. I think quite the opposite. They open up avenues that were not previously available to other generations of humans, whether that be people delivering with Uber, driving with Uber Lyft, creating businesses solely using their phone. The internet has opened up tons of opportunities for tons of different people. But we need to take a hard look at ourselves, open up your screen time app and see which app you're wasting the most time on. And I implore you to delete it today, even if it is YouTube, because you should think, how could I use this time to be more productive, whether it be for a hobby I've always wanted to do, losing weight, going to exercise, getting healthier, whatever that may be. To end this video, I want to say that I'm excited to use this phone, and I hope that what you hear today makes you really think hard about what you're wasting your time on, and I hope that potentially in the future, you could save a few hours off your phone, get into the real world, smell the flowers, hear the birds, go outside and go for a run. I'll see you in the next one. We'll see how I survive with the flip phone. Some more flip phone ASMR for you. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks again for watching. Peace out.